Is it that time of the month again already? I think it's that time of the month again already. Tier list time. Yo, what is going on, homies? It's your boy Stumped back from the OPTC video, and in today's video, we're technically over here on the Japanese side of the game doing our October 2021 Legends tier list. So, it is the start of the month, and I do like to do my Japan tier list at the start of the month compared to the end of the month like my global tier lists. And we're going to have a chat about the legends that are available on the Japanese side of the game, how good they are, where they sort of rank around the other legends that are available, and put them into sort of tiers for you guys to see what characters you should be leveling up, what characters you don't really have to worry about, and what characters are a lot of fun. So, before we do begin, obviously, huge shout out to the tier list maker. If you guys want to try this tier list that I've put together myself, link will be in the description below. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section as well. I do like to have discussions with you guys, what you guys think, what units I should change, what units you agree with, what units you don't agree with, all of that sort of stuff. As always, huge shout out to the database as well for the images provided. Big shout out to them. I'll leave a link in the description too. Make sure to go check them out if you're looking for team building tips and damage calculator, all that kind of stuff. Before we do continue with today's tier list, just be mindful this is my personal opinion. My personal tier list. By playing the games, talking to people in the community, having a bit of a feel for the units, as I do have all the characters on Japan and global. Between the two counts, I do have every single legend in the game, and I have played around with them a little bit, including the new Dofi and Katakuri that we will be talking about later in today's video. The big thing I do like to rank characters on is usability. That is the big outlier when it comes to my tier list. Usability, how useful the character is in content, and where they fit in for most content of the game. Obviously, most characters can complete pretty much all content in the game, but it comes down to three big things for me. The power of their special, or the power of their captain ability, so power in general of special and captain ability, or combined, the utility of the unit, how good their special is, or their captain ability is to get around particular pieces of content, and the speed of the clear rate. Now, obviously not every character can complete every single piece of content in the game, but the higher tier legends and the characters that are in the higher tiers, they can all complete it. They just complete it at different difficulty levels. They need particular types of units or different subs or supports, as well as speed. So that's where I like to rank the characters, and that's what I mean when I say usability as a whole. Before we dive into, there is a bunch of changes I do want to talk about before we add the 4 new characters to the tier list. That is the 6+ of Charlotte's Pudding, the Treasure Map Sugo, that is Koala, her first standalone legend, and then V4 Katakuri and V3 Doflamingo, the 2 new super classes that have arrived here over on the Japanese side of the game. So let's take a look at the tier list, let's take a look at last month's, and let's see what we have to change and what we want to change. So first of all, let's take a look at this bottom category here. We're going to move Smoker up into support. I should have done that from the very beginning. He should have always been there. 1.75 to quick. If you do a damage dealing special, it's very, very good. Hawkins has a pretty good support as well. We're going to do that just because Smoker's better. Shout out to my boy Ty. Hawkins can change orbs into matching on Kaido units, on Beige units, I'm pretty sure as well. Or, no, not Beige units. Kaido units and X-Drake and stuff like that. Katakuri, nah, still there. V1 Boa has a very good support as well, going on Luffy's, making the right-hand side matching with matching orbs. And I think that's pretty much all we need to change when it comes to support units. Everything else here is pretty much just still dookie, right? This Mihawk, I'm going to move this Mihawk up into niche or when the content requires. Same with Dofi, just because with the worst generation, I was playing around with them and they can just sort of like stage wipe the final stage, and it's just so much fun. So I do think they deserve to be up in the content when the niche requires. Other than that, I don't really see too much change. Obviously, the support units, they're all going to stay the same. Tesoro, or Tesoro, or whatever you want to call him, he's going to move up into support. Has a very, very good support. For Baccarat especially. Other than that, everyone else kind of sits in this sort of rare recruit tier. I guess you could probably move Jinbei up to when the content requires, just because he's immune to special bind and special reverse. But look, at the end of the day, I don't use Jinbei anymore, so for that reason, I'm going to put him in rare recruit tier, because there's rare recruits that just I use more. Moving up into content and niche, when content requires or niche, I think everyone here is pretty much fine to stay. I feel like Shanks you could probably move down into rare recruit tier nowadays. He does an attack boost, he does block or manipulation, and he does a chain boost. There are rare recruit characters that can kind of do that. Oh, sorry, this Cracker needs to go into support as well. This Cracker's got a very good support. That can sort of do that, so I do think he's probably in rare recruit tier nowadays. Everyone else up here is pretty good, pretty fine to stay where they are. Yeah, I feel like they're pretty fine to stay where they are. Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Alright, solid hybrid options. Having a look at solid hybrid options now. Let's make our way up here. We're going to move up to here. Solid hybrids. I do want to move Bullet up into A tier captain. With the release of Dofi and the super class, Bullet just gets better. You're really only ever using him as a captain, though. You're never really running 2 bullets, so that's a big thing. But I do think putting him up to A tier captain is acceptable, as you're really just running him for that rainbow damage. That's the big reason you want to be running Bullet. So he can do a lot of things, and he can do a lot of damage. As for everyone else in Solid Hybrid, I think we're pretty good in Solid Hybrid. I guess if you really want to be, like, super, what's it called? If you want to be super, like, harsh, you could easily drop Kuma. But, like, you still got to give him credit when he works, right? Like, for Garbs challenges and stuff. I did use him to blow away the final stage of Worst Generation as well, so there is that. This Blackbeard, I'm not a huge fan of, but, like, I guess you could say is kind of okay, maybe. This Enel, I kind of want to move up. I kind of want to move him into at least A tier sub. He's a 5x captain to Sai, and Sai very good. He does make matching orbs as well. But he's really good at getting around resilience. That's the big thing for him. So I feel like if you're going to be using him, you're going to be using him as a sub, if anything. Let's move up to A tier sub now. Let's see if anyone needs to move. Okay, this Pudding, we're going to move her straight up into S tier sub. She should have been there from the get-go. Let's be real. We will talk about her 6+ when she comes around. But for now, let's put her where she needs to be. This Sabo as well, because he gives the burn mechanic, he's an S tier sub. Getting around that damage limiter is very, very annoying, and this Sabo is very, very good at doing that, especially for, like, Garbs challenges. He's an attack boost, he's a chain booster. He works amazingly with Verse Ace. Very, very good unit. I do like him a lot. I'm going to put him into S tier sub. Other than that, everyone else is pretty much fine here as an A tier sub. I think we are going to move some characters down, so don't stress. This is going to get filled out a little bit more. Looking at the A tier captains, I do want to move this Sabo down into Solid Hybrid. You're never, ever running 2 Sabos. You're never running 2 Sabos. You're always running, like, the chain boosting of Sabo, and then, like another unit for, like, a 5x captain. He's good for color affinity, especially when you hybrid him up with Bullet. But for now, we're just going to move him down to A tier to Solid Hybrid from A tier captain. Everyone else is pretty much fine to be moved either down or, like, not to be moved down. But there are a few changes that I do want to make. This Zoro, I definitely want to move him to S tier captain. When that 20% HP cut works, it is so nice when you're running double Zoro. He has special bind removal. He's a very, very good dex leader. His color affinity is an orb booster. He's a very good unit. For global players, he's very, very good for the Onigashima Ashura Doji event that is coming out, like, in a couple hours. I'm sitting on the bottom of my jumper, and it's, like, pulling at my neck. Apologies about that. Okay. Moria. I do want to move Moria up into S tier captain as well. The healing that Moria can provide, very, very good. Driven Powerhouse got a lot more support, obviously, when they with Yamato. He's a very, very good orb booster as well. Honestly, I prefer running him than, like, King most of the time as well. So, because he's color affinity on that clock buff as well. He's one of, like, the only, like, driven color affinity boosters as well, like, good ones anyway. So, there's also that. He's a very, very good unit, and as a captain, he can do a lot. Like, he can do a lot as a captain. Because of his healing mechanic, and his super typing giving cooldowns and damage, he's great for treasure map and stuff like that, too. This Kaido. V1 Kaido. I love V1 Kaido. When you can use V1 Kaido, you use V1 Kaido. It's as simple as that. He's a brain-dead captain. I get that. I truly get that. But when you hybrid him up with something like Queen or King or another powerhouse character like the new Katakuri, like Page 1 ulti, you can just, like, stage wipe, and it just makes farming content so much easier. Like my boy Sim said, if there should be a terms and conditions, like a TOS, in the actual game that says, if you can use V1 Kaido, use V1 Kaido. Simple as that. When there's no normal attacks only, he's the man to go for. Like, honestly, like, he's just the man to go for. Other than that, everyone else is pretty much fine. I'm not a huge fan of V2 Kaido. I think he deserves to be there in A tier captain. And Kid, look, Kid's okay, but he's pretty squishy. These two have to stay together, Law and Mihawk. I don't think they're on the par of being an S tier captain. Their utility is really, really nice, same as the Magellan utility. And then obviously, Carrot, I guess you could maybe argue S tier sub, but the speed of Carrot is just so nice to have, and most of the time you're using her as a captain. Moving on to S tier sub now. I do want to drop Jumanji down to A tier sub. They're still really, really good. Their switchability removing special bind on themselves is great. But, like, they're not really used for any new content besides what we already have. And for that reason, I do want to drop them down into A tier sub. Same as Luffy and Zoro. I do think they're a very, very good sub. Their switchability is amazing. Slot bind removal, bind, despair removal. But again, there's no real content where you've needed that besides what we already do have. And obviously other characters are sort of coming out to be, to sort of get around that sort of stuff as well. So I do think they're both A tier subs. Still very good units, but like, they're just not used that much when it comes to newer content. Same with Vivi and Rebecca. A lot of characters have special blind removal in their kit nowadays. So the concept of switching and removing the special blind and then using their special, it's still good, but it's not as viable as it once was, because we do have a lot of captains that sort of remove special blind on themselves and stuff like that as well. This Kizaru, he's really, really good on paper. This Kizaru is great on paper, but with the release of Dofi, he's just basically been made redundant, to be honest. Like, he's just been made absolutely redundant, and for that reason, I'm going to drop him into A tier sub. He's great because he has fear, and if you need special blind removal, if you need special reverse, he's great. He's a color affinity booster for 3 colors, and a chain booster 1.4, which is awesome. But, like, I've just never really found a place to use Kizaru, per se. On paper, really good unit. Practicality, not so much. Having a look at some more S-tier subs here, what do we want to look at? Everyone else seems pretty fine. Sabo Koala, we're going to drop Sabo Koala too. Sabo Koala still still one of the only units that can remove the negative color or negative orb debuff. But, again, there's been no new content that has that where you've just needed Sabo Koala. They were great for, like their era. Like, that toxic era. But, nowadays, just sort of not so much in terms of, like, what they can do. Komurasaki, I feel like this Komurasaki can probably be put next to this Komurasaki in terms of a solid hybrid option. They're sort of on par with each other. I feel like that's probably fair as well. Looking at the rest of the S-tier subs, like, they're all fine to stay the way they are. Germa 6+ with their 3-turn captain swap's great. Completely removing damage reduction and threshold's awesome. The negative effect, the amazing switch of Shirohoshi Mancherry, and like everything they do is awesome. The utility that these 3 units can provide is really, really nice. Vivi Rebecca is still one of the best subs in the game, and Sober Mask with his amazing Sailor to give himself cooldowns. Let's have a look at the S-tier captains now. There's going to be some big changes in S-tier captains. Some big, big changes. First of all, we're going to drop Boa down next to Perona. Boa's great as a sub. The only thing that she does is, like, when you get hit, she does the Marrow ability, which makes her kind of good as a captain, but she's quite slow as a captain because of that. So, for that reason, she's going to drop down that S-tier sub. S-tier sub's a good spot for her because she removes Special Blind and Attack Down, which is a very, very good combo. It's what makes the rare recruit Zoro so damn strong, the one that came out with the Onigashima trio. So, this Boa will see play, and she's a base stat booster of Free Spirit as well. So, really, really good sub. But as a captain, I just haven't seen myself running her, and I don't really see myself running her. The original Boa, though, it's time for her to move down to A-tier captain. Her super typing is still one of the best in the game, but it's just not, like, she's just not that fast anymore, and for that reason, I do want to drop her into A-tier captain. This Sanji, at the time and on paper, this Sanji's really good, but in practicality, this Sanji is just not a great unit. He doesn't give any beneficial orbs besides when you use his special, which you're normally using on the final stage. Ideally, you want to run 2 Sanjis to get the attack and the orbs at the start. And for the first couple stages, you don't need those orb boosting, the orb boost. He is a speed captain in the way that he gives 2 turns of cooldown, which is great. But again, there's just better Sanjis, there's better Psy captains, and there's better Free Spirit captains. And for that reason, he's an A-tier captain in my eyes. He's nowhere near these other units as at S-tier captain. Marco. Mr. Marco. We're going to drop Marco down to A-tier captain as well. Marco, honestly, like, I'm gonna drop him further. He's a solid hybrid option. I never use this Marco, ever, like, period. He has the, like, auto trigger for healing, but, like, he's super typing, like, if you get below 50%, you can use his super type. You get below 30%, you can use his, auto trigger. But if you drop below 30%, you get the auto trigger and you can't get the super type. He's in a really weird spot, Marco, honestly. He's not a bad option if you don't have anyone else better for, ints, but like if you look at Bonnie, if you look at Reiju, they're just infinitely better units when it comes to like those particular characters when you are running int teams. So for that reason, I do want to drop Marco down. Mr. Odin. I kind of want to drop Odin into A-tier captain. I guess most of the time with Odin, you are using him as a sub because he can give Wano orbs, which is really cool. He is a pretty good orb booster for free spirits and slashes, but it's only for 2 turns. Unless you extend that, it's not that great. With Yamato's release as well, you're usually using Yamato for those Wano orbs as well. For that reason, I just really want to put him in A-tier captain. Like, I don't even really use Odin as a sub anymore, but I do think he's better than these subs here. Like, much better than these subs here. So I'm going to put him in A-tier captain for now. Just because he's still viable, but like, Odin dropped off real fast. He dropped off real quick, real fast, unfortunately. Other than that, I think everyone's fine to not be moved down up here. I think everyone else is pretty, like, they hold their own in S tier captain. Let's sort of scroll up to the crux and let's have a look at the top units. So, these 4 units at the top here, they're not changing. I'm just letting you know that. But in S tier captain, I am going to make a few more changes. Mr. Lucci. Mr. Lucci's going to find his way into amazing. Base stat boost just got better and better. With Powerhouse having a super class now, you can hybrid up Lucci with Katakuri. Lucci is probably the best Dex captain in the entire game, in my opinion. I'm a big fan of running Queen and Lucci hybrid together and then bringing Lucci on the team. So I feel like that's why he needs to go into amazing, because he's like a good sub and a good captain. But most of the time you'll be running him as captain, especially if you don't have Queen, but the auto trigger of Queen is so nice. And then Lucci can provide that orb boost to trigger that, and that combination works so good when it comes to Dex teams. But for Powerhouse like teams, I believe he's the best Powerhouse captain in the game, to be honest. As well as being the best Dex captain. The fighter kind of lets him down. He completely removes defense up, which is always going to be viable as well. Very, very good unit. I do actually want to move Queen up as well. I'm a big fan of Queen, and like I said, I do like running the 2 of these units together. Queen can give special reverse. You can get the auto trigger of the special twice, which is an attack boost, and then a carryover into a chain lock. Very, very good combination of the 2. He basically just does everything that King does, but better. He's an attack booster, he's a chain boundary. Dex needs more help than Quick did. Driven Powerhouse need attack boosting more than they need orb boost, and that's the reason why I'm going to leave King down here. Because you have stuff like Moria, because you have stuff like Versa Kainu, King can be easily replaced. Queen, not so much for Driven Powerhouse. You have the option of Fire Tank Pirates, but other than that, like, Queen is your best go for when it comes to actually utilizing an attack boost for the Driven Powerhouse team. Other than that, for the S tier captains, I am going to leave them the same. I don't really have too many changes for that. Other than that, sort of it is what it is, right? Looking at the next tier up here, moving some characters down. We're going to move Sugar. Sugar's going to move down to S tier sub. As good as her super typing is, you really only use her for her chain effects. And with this Yamato, like, you're only ever using her, like, to get, like, big Unga Bunga damage on Kazuna. Or if you're trying to speedrun stuff to get around stuff like Paralysis, if you're trying to get around stuff like Bind, all that sort of stuff, you're really only using Sugar as a sub. The 2.25 orbs is a bit low nowadays. So, when it comes to that sort of side of Sugar, again, it kind of just is what it is, you know? Looking at the rest of these units, we definitely need to move Shank's crew. We definitely need to move Wano Law down. These 2 characters are still really good and are options as captains. But nowadays, when you compare it to what we have, you're running them as subs. It's as simple as that. And S tier subs where they need to be. Shanks can remove the special one in his kit. He has the end of turn damage to get around resilience. But nowadays, there's just other options to get around that. Especially with like VV for Cerebral. You've got this Zoro for Dex. And he's a Rainbow Captain too. Law is one of the best aging units in the entire game. Purely because he has that sort of... what's it called? He has this sort of Sailor ability where he gives himself cooldown, which what makes Sobama so good as well. And for that reason, I do want to sort of put him on the same tier as these particular units. But in saying that too, they, like, these 3 in particular, like something like that, they're sort of like the top 3 when it comes to the best subs in the game. Easily. Looking at the other amazing characters, we are definitely going to move the Fire Tank Pirates up into God tier. With the support Driven's getting, like, they're just getting better and better and better. They're very, very good, very, very strong. Their switchability is amazing. Their special's amazing. They have utility. As a captain, they can give a lot of matching orbs. They can remove blow away. They are amazing. They're better than amazing. They're a God tier unit. They're definitely a God tier unit. Luffy Sanji, it's time I move Luffy Sanji down as well. You're really only using Luffy Sanji as a sub. You definitely can run him as a captain, but when it comes to speed, this guy, like, he has a low damage multiplier when it comes to his captain as well. You're really only ever using him as a hybrid option, but as a sub, he is very, very strong. Like, a very, very strong sub. Very, very strong. Mr. Luffy. I want to drop Luffy into S tier captain. Most of the time, I'm using Luffy as a captain. I'm not really ever using him as a sub, per se. He's a good sub for free spirits. But, like, Roger's a thing, and Roger's just usually your attack booster anyway. And I do want to, like, make some changes with the Onigashima trio and separate the 3. I do see that he can be as good as Law. But Law has that ability to give the 1.5 extra damage no matter what. And for that reason, I do think he's probably the worst of the three. As a captain, he holds the most viability because he makes recovery orbs matching. You can heal through perfects. His super typing is quite good with his cooldown. And his final tap is actually quite strong. But as a sub, I don't ever use this Luffy. It's as simple as that. I just don't ever use this Luffy. Talking about the Onigashima trio, Kid. Kid is a god tier unit. Again, with the amount of support that Driven gets, Kid just gets better and better. He works amazingly with this Yamato. He works amazingly with his Whitebeard. He works amazingly with Page 1 ulti. He works amazingly with, any Driven character that comes out in the future, like the new Dofi, for example. This Kid is going to be good, and not only does he have access to a super class now, he's your super type, so you can hybrid up the two. Him and Dofi works amazingly well. With Shanks, I do want to put Shanks up the top here with versus Whitebeard and Shanks. If you have one, you have both, really. And the base stat boost that Shanks can provide for Sai and Slasher characters is just unparalleled, especially now that we are getting super classes. It's very, very good. It's very, very strong. He's just an absolute weapon. He's a great option for a Sai character. He can get around defense up immunity, which is awesome. He gives matching orbs as well, which is just great. I'm a big fan of Shanks. He does have a bit of competition, but I am a big fan of Shanks. I do still think that Whitebeard is a little bit more viable, just because we have Yamato and Int characters are quite strong. But this versus Shanks is your orb booster for the Roger team when it comes to Sai teams. It's as simple as that. He does have to compete with Shanks' crew though, but if you don't need Shanks' crew, he always finds a way on the team, always. Toki. Toki's the last unit we're going to talk about in Amazing. I'm going to put Toki into Broken. She's my 5th unit in top 5. She just gets better and better. In my opinion, she's probably the most valuable unit in the game. I would honestly do something like this in terms of value. In terms of power and stuff, I do think it, sits like this. But Toki's definitely a top 5 unit. The ability to get around, any debuff that gets applied to an enemy for basically 3 turns, and then a 3.5 times attack and orb boost is just so damn strong. They're a 4.75 Rainbow Captain. Their super typing gives color affinity to strength. You can do some wild things with the Straw Hat, Toki combination. It's just so nice. So ridiculously nice. She is my 5th unit when it comes to the top 5. And I definitely have to put her where she goes. Big Mom. Big Mom, honestly, for me, is still better than Verse Kaido. I guess for that reason, you could argue that still. But I love Shanks, man. He's so good. He's so powerful. Let's have a look at the God tier units and let's see what's going to change. Law. I'm going to drop Law down. He's really good. Law's really, really good. He finds his way into teams where he just gets that 1.5 extra damage. But in terms of the Onigashima trio, this is the way I see them. I do like Kid the most, in terms of, beating most content. Law's great for, Kazuna to get the extra damage. His final tap's really good for Kazuna for extra damage. But other than that, he has a 2.75 attack boost, which is hectic. But for Cerebral Slashes, which is the highest. But again, he has to compete with Roger, the same issue that Luffy has. His super typing's not exactly all that. But it is quite nice, rotating matching, or getting block orbs matching. And for that reason, I do want to just put him a little bit lower than Kid, because I just see Kid as way more fun, way more usable. But I guess you could easily make an argument that he's up here and amazing. With Vivi being out, I normally run Vivi as my Cerebral Captain nowadays for the utility concept. But other than that, Law just sort of finds his way into amazing. Page 1 ulti is another unit I want to drop. Page 1 ulti on paper is awesome. Getting that 2.25 conditional is really, really good. But you just don't see it that often. Their switchability is absolutely insane. But other than that, if you can't get off their special, they basically lose a special. You can still use them here and there because they can have some really good supports like Smoker, the Dofi support for orb manipulation, and their super switch is great, but I just don't think they're up there. Honestly, the more I think about it now, I think I'm just being biased. I think I just want to leave Shanks in the amazing category. But when it comes to page 1 ulti, they have a great switchability, they do have a good special, but when you can't get that conditional boost off, they're kind of forgettable in that sort of aspect of the tier list. Other than that, everything else sort of stays the same for me. Everything else kind of stays the same. I wouldn't make any other changes. I still think Whitebeard's probably the second, one of the best in captains next to Yamato. But Yamato has that ability to be a 6+. And as you can see here, these are my top 5. Pretty much in that order as well. These two here, obviously interchangeable depending on what's going on. With Dofi's Relief, actually, I do like this sort of setup a little bit more, but the utility that these two can provide for free spirits is actually so damn strong. So that's the big changes to the tier list. from last month. Let's scroll back down the bottom here, and let's take a look at what we're working with. So, 6+ Jack. 6+ Jack, I totally forgot to add to the tier list, so we're going to remove this Jack, and we're going to just put 6+ Jack into content or niche when required. Jack got a chain lock with his Super Evolution, but in saying that too, you're never really using Jack outside of PvP or in times of XP farming. So I still think he deserves to be in the same category as where he was. I love his art though, his art's amazing, but he's still quite niche, he's still where the content requires. But his captain ability's got a straight buff, which is always nice. 6+ Pudding, let's take a look at 6+ Pudding. She's basically going to go where the other Pudding was. She's an S tier sub. To be able to stockpile the attack or orbs and get around like interrupts is just so damn good. And now she's just got like Bind and Despair. It's like, why? Her captain is now a Sire captain as well. Again, why? Her 6+ really didn't get that much of a buff to her original form. So we are just going to leave her there. It's like sometimes the Bind and Despair is actually pretty good. Like it can work. But it's very rare that it does. I think I did use it on one of the events recently, the Tank Man event, because she was a boosted unit, and the Bind and the Despair came in clutch. But other than that, like, you're really still using her for the same thing that you were already using her for. So for that reason, she doesn't need to move. She definitely deserves to be put into the ST sub anyway. For me, when it comes to putting, I normally just forget about her, to be honest. But in saying that too, like, that doesn't mean that she's not bad. Like, definitely not saying that she's bad. Talking about forgettable though, when I was putting together this tier list, I did forget to totally include Koala. In saying that as well, Koala's not a bad unit. She's definitely not a bad unit. Where would I rank her though on the tier list? I'd probably put her as an A tier captain. Maybe even an S tier captain. For the meantime, I'm going to put her in A tier captain because I don't want to overhype the unit. I have not used her since Treasure Map. I won't lie. The ability to get the overheal mechanic as well as extend the HP buff means that you can be very, very tanky. She can remove the recovery down debuff, and she is a fighter character, so I guess you could put her on some Katakuri teams and stuff like that to make Katakuri work a little bit nicer. There is a debuff where if you heal anyway, you actually take the damage instead of healing, and Koala can completely remove that. Or she was 10 turns of that, sorry. Her captain ability does remove special reverse as well, so she gets around special reverse, which makes her quite good. But special reverse compared to special bind is just not that viable to me. So for that reason, I kind of want to put her in AT captain. She may move up next month, depending on what the content looks like. But when it comes to a free spirit captain or a fighter captain, this Luffy is just your go forward. And I feel like that, like, you can't put her on the same pedestal as this Luffy. Especially because Luffy has the special bind, like, reverse in his super typing as well. She is a very good color affinity to Free Spirit though, and I do find that she'll find her way as more of a sub, but I don't think she's as good as some of these subs here, to be honest. So for that reason, I think AT Captain's fine for Koala at the moment. I don't want to underhype her, but I don't want to overhype her. So for that point, I'm going to leave her as an AT Captain for now. We'll see what happens in the next months though, you know. Alright, the big ones, the two big new super classes, the two new units. I'm going to talk about Katakuri first, just because I love this Dofi. I love this Dofi. Katakuri. Katakuri. Where do we put Katakuri? Where do we put Katakuri? I'm going to put Katakuri in an S tier captain. The thing with Katakuri and Doflamingo, the big narc I have with the units, are they only a mono class captain. With the introduction of Dofi and Katakuri, Katakuri is a powerhouse captain for 5 times, which is very, very good. Don't get me wrong. 3.75 to everyone else. So he's technically a rainbow captain, which is great. But when you are building teams, you are really restricted, or you are prone to use powerhouse characters. For Katakuri, he has a lot of competition. I do think Lucci is a better powerhouse captain. I do think that Queen, honestly, can be a better powerhouse captain. Page 1 Ulti can be a better powerhouse captain. King can be right there as another quick powerhouse captain. With Katakuri, he does heal back 50% of the damage that you take on the next stage, which makes him very, very tanky for most content. for most content. If you're running 2 Katakuris, you just don't die, right? Unless you die in the stage, you don't, like, die on the next stage because you just heal all your HP back. He increases the chance of landing on matching orbs, which can be good as well. And he's an orb booster to powerhouse characters up to 2.75, depending on how much damage you take. You do need to take over something like 50,000 damage for that to be a 2.75 times orb boost. If you've taken 0 to 25k, he's only a 2.25 times orb boost. Now, Katakuri is going to see most play on something like Kazuna, but Kazuna, you're not going to see that much damage. I thought he'd be really good in forests, but there are particular situations in forests where you get despaired, where you don't get that heal mechanic popping off, and because he doesn't have any damage reduction in his kit, he doesn't have any healing in his kit, and powerhouse characters, they sort of lack a lot of healers when it comes to team building. It's very hard to stay alive on stages where you need to stall in forests. For Dofi 2, I do think he'll shine the best in Revolutionary Army 2, like, don't get me wrong. When that content comes out, be ready for that video. But for Dofi 2, he was very, very hard to team build for. For the Garbs challenges, he was like the 11-star worst generation, he was very easy to complete with. But you have other units. I would much rather run Akainu as a powerhouse captain. Like this Akainu, in my eyes, it's just better. You have Reiju, as you have another powerhouse option here. Lucci, in my eyes, is just like, he's like one of the best powerhouse captains in the game. I forgot about like this Akainu being a powerhouse captain, so I do think this Akainu is still the best powerhouse captain. As a little like rehash on the Lucci stuff. But Katakuri to me has just seemed a little bit underwhelming. I'm not saying he's bad, and we do have to wait to see what comes out, but the fact he has a super class is really the only reason you're running him as a captain over some of these other units. Getting a 1.2 times base stat boost to powerhouse characters is very, very powerful. He has a 1000 base stat boost as well, which makes him very, very powerful as well, but Lucci already does that to powerhouse, so we already have that in a unit as well, so there is that. Lucci can be a 2.8 times orb boost to powerhouse characters as a captain as well. So if you hybrid these two up, it is going to work very, very nicely. But I do think that Lucci is just better. I guess you could make an argument for me that, like, Katakuri is, like, better than Queen, so he deserves to be an amazing. I guess you could say that. But I really like Queen's auto trigger. Queen can provide the team with a little bit more with his special reverse, as well as the attack boost being 2.5 and getting the carry over. So if you were going to say anything, like, I would do something like this. Katakuri would just be like a low-end amazing, a high-end S-tier captain. Powerhouse are very, very strong, and, like, I don't want to overhype this unit as well. But I do think he's better than Zoro. I do think he's, like, I do think he's probably better than Moria. Would I say he's better than Reiju and King? I don't know. Like, that's the thing, right? We'll put him up here just because he has superclass, and at the moment superclass is very, very strong. And another thing about Katakuri is he can be an attack booster to powerhouse characters as well. Because powerhouse characters have so many orb boosters with Queen and with Versakainu and with Moria, you can get Katakuri to be a 2.5 times attack boost. So for that reason, actually, I'm going to put him in amazing. I'm going to put him at the end of amazing, though. Like, borderline, like, down here in S tier. Like high S tier captain, like, bottom of amazing. Whilst I do think he's very, very good, team building for him has been a bit of a headache. Where Queen and, like, Lucci, they provide you with Driven. They provide you with a color as well. And just team building for these guys is just a lot nicer with the whole color class meta. With super classes, we might see a change. I really hope that they start changing it up and they do like a color class meta. Very similar to what like Shanks and Whitebeard are, having 2 colors and then a class. I think that'd be really, really good for the super class meta. But Katakuri, being a super class unit, is sort of what gives him that little bit of an edge. 1.2 times base stat boost is very, very strong. He can give matching orbs with his superclassing as well. And with the superclass condition, I do like the superclass conditions. The fact that if you use 4 specials in a run, you can activate it. Or if you have any of like a Luffy or the Charlotte family, you can actually get that as well. So Katakuri is really, really good. We will have to wait and see what content brings before I can sort of say, yes, he's definitely an amazing unit. But I do think he's somewhere around like here or here. But for now, we're going to put him up here in amazing. Let's talk about Dofi now. Out of the two, I'm going to give you guys spoilers. I think Dofi is just way better. I think Dofi's just, like, way better in all regards. I don't think he's broken, and I don't think he's most valuable, purely because of what I just said, that he only boosts one class. Dofi does the same as Katakuri. He boosts Driven. I'm going to put him in God tier, though. Driven have so much support. So much support lately, and that's a big reason why Dofi's here. Dofi's a 5 times captain to Driven, and I do think he's probably the best Driven captain in the entire game, next to Yamato. But hybriding these two characters up together, like, is so damn powerful. But I don't think that Dofi is as valuable as this Yamato actually is, because he's only a 5 times captain to Driven characters. He is 3.75 to everything else, just like Katakuri, but he's special, and he's super class, and his captain ability, in my opinion, just holds a lot more viability. As a captain, he also removes 10 turns of special bind, and for that reason, his captain ability is just better than Katakuri's. Katakuri gets that heal and greatly increases the chance of landing or matching orbs, which is great, but it's still RNG based. The healing's awesome, but you still have to take damage. It makes him a bit of a slower character to get that 2.75 times orb boost later down the line. With Doflamingo's special gives a 2.25 attack and orb boost, which is what you see most of the time from Katakuri anyway, or you see like a 2.5. But to be able to get a 2.25 attack and orb boost in one character is so damn good. It's so powerful, and not only does he do that, but he actually also rotates all orbs into matching orbs for all characters through block orbs, which is so damn strong. To be an orb booster and an orb manipulator through block orbs is so powerful. It's so damn good. He can remove special bind in his kit, like his captain kit, and then he can be an attack and an orb booster. He also does a 30% heal as well, which makes him quite tanky as well. Really, really good to use, especially in stuff like Forest, especially in stuff like Dofi 2. He worked really, really well. His super class, you need any of the Donquanox or the Don Quixote family, or you need a Law or a Luffy unit on the team, or you need the enemy to trigger a support very similar to Hawkins. His super class, in my opinion, is just better than Katakuri's. Katakuri's has more viability in most content because it goes through block orbs. It basically just does like part of Dofi's special, but Dofi actually gives special reverse and does damage, which makes him great for speedrunning content, makes him great for treasure map, and it makes him great for getting around special reverse. So if you get fear and there's special bind, special reverse, this Doflamingo just like takes away like characters like King, removes characters like Kizaru, because he just does it in his captain ability, which is so damn phenomenal. But another thing that Dofi actually does, if you have an attack and an orb boost already available, he actually becomes a 1.4 stat boost, as well as a 1000 base stat boost and a 1.4 chain boost. Two very, very underrated abilities. 1.4 is the biggest chain boost in the game, and a 1000 base stat boost is just unheard of, especially when you stack the 1.2 super classing of, well, it's not unheard of, like other characters have it, obviously. It's like, it's irreplaceable on a character that has super class, because it's really like a 1200 base stat boost, because they give the 1.2 super classing to their classes. It makes them very, very strong. Dofi can output a lot of damage, and when you are sort of running content quickly, the 2.25 attack and orb boost, it's more than enough to beat most content. The thing about Dofi too is, he has access to this Kid. Kid can be your attack and orb boost 2.5 times, and then you can use this for the base stat boost and the chain boost as well. You can also use free-to-play characters like the Big Mom and Kaido unit, the dual free-to-play unit. You can use their switch, you can get the attack boost, then you can use their special to get the massive orb boost, and then you can use this guy's special to get the chain boost and the base stat to make that unit hit very, very hard. You also have access to Bardo Cavendish, that's another unit that can do that. Switch and get the orb boost, use their special to get the attack boost, and then you can use something like Dofi to get the chain boost and the base stats. Running two Dofis works really well, because then you use one Dofi for the attack and the orbs, you use the other Dofi for the chain boost and the base stat boost. You can also use the shenanigans of this Yamato to get like matching orbs and the chain boost. Like, you can just do so many good things when it comes to this particular Dofi. So that's going to wrap up the video today, guys. We're going to start down here. I'm just going to scroll up quickly while I wrap the video up for you. We did do a bunch of changes to the tier list. We obviously put characters in the support category when they needed to be. And we did a bunch of changing with the new release of some units. So I hope you guys enjoyed the new positions that most of these characters found themselves in. I will leave a picture at the end of the video for you guys. Hopefully you guys can pause the video there. Jump over in the Discord. I'm happy to post the picture there as well if you guys want to have a better look. But if you guys did enjoy today's video, make sure to smash that like button for me if you're new to the channel. Hit the big red subscribe button too. But guys, wherever you are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, I thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Let's